Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can find me on Instagram as Skeindeer, and I am Skeindeer Knits as a designer on Ravelry. And Skeindeer Knits is also the name of my Ravelry group, which is the best place to get in touch and take part in knit-alongs, get your questions answered, past and support, all that stuff. So yeah, welcome to my knitting podcast. If you're a new viewer, this is basically where I sit and talk about knitting for about an hour every week or so. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back to the madness. So what we're going to talk about today is the mystery of that I haven't knitted on more than I have. I try to like dig up all my projects to show you, and I'm like, I've been knitting a lot. Where's the stuff? And we're going to talk about Yarndale. I went to Yarndale and the Selbu Mitten Club. Let's start with the Selbu Mitten Club because I literally just launched the first pattern that isn't the bonus pattern. The bonus pattern always comes out first, it being these. That was the bonus pattern. This is Speedy Spunny. I call them that because the last year we had Speedy Selbu and I thought these look a bit like Spunny actually, and Spunny is already a pattern I have, so this is Speedy because they're faster and chunky, or Aaron, whatever. It's funny because getting ahead of myself. I used Roma Vams, and if you look up Roma Vams on Ravelry, it will have 3 different entries. There is Vams PT3, which is the latest one, classified as Aaron, but if you look up Vams the Garn or PT3, they're classified as chunky. At least one of them is. So it's one of those things, like, who knows? It could be either. I'm one of those people who don't really believe in yarn weights. Like, I think they're kind of fuzzy categories, and Norwegians don't use them anyway, so chunky Aaron, give or take. You can use a lot of different things, and I think mainly the difference is a long staple will make the mittens a bit longer, a short staple will make them a bit shorter, worsted spun will make them a bit longer, woolen spun will make them a bit shorter, a thinner yarn will make them a bit thinner, a thicker yarn will make them a bit thicker and denser and warmer. So that's kind of the thing. I wasn't going to talk about these though, because now the first proper patterns come out. There's nothing unproper about these, but they're kind of like your instant gratification let's just say these are number 2. I don't know, these are number 1. Let's give them a proper status in the collection. I don't want to be like a chunky shamer. I just made that up, you know. I don't want to like say that a pattern that's chunky weight isn't a proper pattern. It's a proper pattern. So I wasn't going to take this in that direction, but here we are. The October mittens, whether we will call them number 1 or number 2, are out. So I'm going to try not to just talk about the yarn, because I did really enjoy working with this yarn. You don't have to work with this yarn. You can use the same yarns that we used previous years, but I've kind of wanted to indulge myself a little bit with this club and kind of reach peak Selbu-ness. So that's why I worked with only preferably naturally black and white. Sometimes they're dyed. Yeah, so I went straight to it with Daughter of a Shepherd. Yarn I wanted to use for a long time, and I had decided I was going to use Ram Jam worsted, because at worsted I thought, I can probably work for the chunky mittens, because like I used Aran weight on them and that should be, what's the difference? The Aran weight I used leaned towards chunky. This is a worsted that leans towards DK, so it was way too fine to use on the chunky mittens. I was kind of like, oh, I'm not going to be able to use them for the club. Very dramatic. So I ended up using them for the DK weight mittens, and it was perfect. So this is, yeah, quite a light worsted, I would argue, DK, but that's between you and me. If Rachel wants to call them worsted, she can call them worsted. So I used them for these, and it's just perfection, if I can say so. Just the natural colors of these yarns. This is a natural, very dark brown, and this is a complete natural unbleached white. And peak Selbu. Look at that fuss. Look at how this is just Selbu realness right here. It's, yes, I've been watching a lot of posts again. The vocabulary. By the way, very sorry to Billy Porter for calling you Tony. I don't know why. Maybe in my head those names are similar. Your name is Billy Porter and you are amazing. Not that you're watching, but I love you. Digression from last episode. If you didn't watch, that's not going to make any sense. Anyway, I am very much getting ahead of myself. the mittens, we can actually talk about the pattern. That might be something you're interested in. I'm just really gushing about ram jam worsted. So before I'm just abandoning that one, Rachel actually gave us a discount code. I'm putting that on the screen. It's going to be valid for about 1 more week, and then that's it. Probably less by the time this episode goes up, actually. So Selbu 15 should give you a 15% discount on ram jam worsted. Only ram jam worsted, but I thought that was really nice. I've literally just bought this yarn at Edinburgh Yarn Festival a year and a half ago, and it's been very nice that Rachel have been so supportive when I chose to use it for the club. Yeah, that's the story there. Oh my god, it's raining. You know guys, it's been raining so much lately. Can I do a weather thing? I know that's Amy's thing. I'm going to talk about the pattern in a bit. We've had weather. It's been raining, but it's not like, oh, it's been a bit of rain. It's been rain. It's like been torrential. I've enjoyed it because I've been inside, and it's kind of like been just warm enough to have the windows open, and that's when I'm happy. Like when I can sit and listen to the rain, and it's so much, and you're just feeling nature, and I'm just sat here kind of having my tea and just, I'm indoors and I'm dry, and I'm just, I mean, slightly selfishly enjoying that. So I've quite liked it, but it's been quite mad, and I thought I was actually trapped in a pub yesterday because I decided to be social with my colleagues for once in a year, or however often I do that. And yeah, it did stop raining, but I wasn't sure for a while. So there's that. That's what's happening in London. Mittens, the pattern. I usually call these my DK weight kind of formula. Obviously you can use worsted, you can use sport. DK is kind of the middle, and you can vary gauge, you can vary mitten weight. I will say I do get this question a lot. I get actually 2 types of questions a lot, and I'm gonna dissect them both. Don't know what that was. It's like a queen drinking tea dissecting. One question is, what needle size is the next pattern? Never ask me what needle size. I will never give you a straight answer. You know that by now. Because we all have different tension. That will lead to different gauge. So you're going to have to use the needle size that's going to give you gauge. And I'm going to offer a plethora of gauges to get different sizes. Because different gauge will lead to different stitch sizes, which will lead to different mitten sizes. We've gone over this. So that's going to be my answer. You're just going to have to figure out what needle size that you will need to get the gauge that you need to get the size that you need. It's not actually that complicated, and it's kind of like a trial and error. I don't expect anyone to sit and swatch. When I talk about gauge, you guys know this as well. I don't mean swatch. I don't ever. Like, it's just paying attention to the gauge. So like, you made a pair of mittens, slap a ruler on, measure, and say, oh, I got, say, a 20 stitch gauge. I sure would like some slightly smaller mittens. Wonder if I can change to 22. So you go for the next needle size down. See if you get 22. If not, you got a lot of gifts to give away. That's how I work. Yeah. What was the other question? The other question is, can I use a different yarn weight to get a different size? So say I made a pair of DK weight mittens, and someone asks me, can I use Aran weight to get a male size mitten? That's not how it works. That's not how knitting works. So I'm gonna try to be helpful and not like patronizing. Sorry, I'm such a pain. What happens if you just change yarn weight to something heavier? You will just get a denser mitten. If anything, it will be a bit small because a denser mitten, thicker fabric. When you have this curvature of the mitten, actually there's less space inside the mitten because there's thicker fabric that will like occupy. Maths, geometry, stuff I don't understand myself, but it's learned the hard way. So no, if anything, going up in weight will just give you a smaller size, a tighter size, a denser fabric. Same thing if you go for lighter weight, you will get something a lot looser, and actually it's not going to be smaller. The thing that makes it loose, bigger if you want that, is a bigger needle. And when you do choose a bigger needle to get a looser gauge, you may find that the fabric is a bit looser than you like, and that is when you change yarn weight. So it's not like it's unheard of to choose Aran weight to get a bigger mitten, but that's not what is making it bigger. What's making it bigger is you knitting it looser, usually by means of bigger needles. Some people just knit looser when they get a heavier yarn. I don't know how they do that. I knit very consistently across weights of yarn, and I need to change the needle size. Some people just change a needle material and get different results. So there's a lot of factors. I'm trying to make it sound simple because the simplest factors is the individual knitter, the yarn weight and the needle size, but there are other factors like textures, knitting flat, knitting in the round, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's the short and simple answer. I say pay attention to gauge. If you really don't want to be too fussed with the numbers, pay attention to needle size. That's my advice there, because these can be a lot of different sizes, and I put, I think, 4 different sizes, so that will be 4 different gauges, and you can achieve them with different needle size. Now I can't tell you what needle sizes that are because that will be different for different people's tension. I usually get a size 3 with a 4.5 and a size 2 with a 4, but I reckon most people need a 4 to get a size 3 and a 375 or something to get to, give or take somewhere around that. That's a metric size, by the way. Should talk about the mittens. This is all very in a backwards order. Yeah, the mittens themselves, oh my god. Sildra, that's the name of the pattern. They're called Sildra. They're named after a river in Selbu. I just really like the name of it, and they look very classic Selbu. There's the stacked Selbu roses. I kind of thought I'd done that once and for all and I couldn't do it, but this is actually a different take on that than what I've done previously, and I really like the aesthetic. It's kind of like little bits and details, and it's kind of like sparkly. I don't know what it is. And there's a different palm chart as well, because it's, as you can see, it doesn't quite add up when you get here, so the decreases kind of don't work alongside the pattern because of how it goes across 2 rows rather than 1. If it had been 1, it would have worked with the increase and decrease in every row that, say, here, you know. But I quite like the look of this. It's kind of like a honeycomb kind of thing, so I thought I'd try that. Quite like that, but still retaining that classic look, because I wanted to go classic with these. You get the usual palm to thumb chart transition that I love doing. I just love that little eye to detail. You can still use that video tutorial I put up on my channel. That will be available for anyone, no matter whether you bought mittens of me or not. They do use this pattern, but they can, the video is applicable to all of my mitten patterns because I use the same method, even though charts and stitch counts vary a lot. I do the same thing every time, so you can still get some Skeindeer wisdom from that, I guess. The video shows you actually 3 different things. There is the picking up and decreasing for the thumbs. That's 2 things actually. Magic looping on the thumb, and how I avoid jogs when I magic loop. Color work in general. So it's a good video for that. It's not a great tutorial, but it's got the content there, despite the lack of aesthetics. Yeah. Oh, I just love this yarn. It's like, it's not like it's super soft, it's not, but it's going on the hands, it's not going here. Like I wouldn't do a shawl with it. Some people would, I'm sure. It's just like, it's one of those closest results I've come to how Selbu mittens look, because there's very few who actually make yarn like the yarn I used back in the day in Selbu. Like the closest thing we're gonna get is Rauma, Hillesvåg and Selbu Spinneri. So to get yarn that can give that proper Selbu look, like, just give you a sense of the surface here. It is just, yeah, peak Selbu. Oh, and I've gone for ribbed cuff again. I like to share this little sort of fun fact about Selbu mitten cuffs, because they were quite, you know, it wasn't the olden days. They were like, women cannot wear colorwork cuffs, which is kind of why I've gone for colorwork cuffs the previous 2 clubs, because I'm like, I'm gonna wear a colorwork cuff if I want to. But ribbed cuff were always gender neutral, and the lace cuffs used to be only for women, and like kind of your Sunday mittens, you know, your church mittens. But ribbed cuffs were for everyone, so it's kind of what I've gone for this year. It's kind of been the what most people associate with Selbu mittens, is the kind of striped ribbed cuff. So that's that. I don't know if I have much else to say, and we do actually have a lot of other stuff to get through. So I just want to put that out there. The Selbu Mitten Club has now got 2 patterns in it. There are another 3 to come. And if you're just joining this now and you don't know what this is all about, I'm going to try to explain it briefly. It's a ebook membership, a club membership. You basically just buy the ebook on Ravelry and you are a member, and you can buy it at any time, even when it's over, or even when there are no patterns in it, which is a bit late now. But yeah, there's never really a time when it's too late to join. You can even buy the club from like 2 years ago. Which, speaking of which, I wasn't sure I was going to bring this up, but I got contacted by someone who really wanted to buy all 3 clubs. This is something I'd never considered. I never thought anyone would do that, but she suggested that since she wanted to buy all 3, if maybe there's a discount code for that kind of thing. And like, normally if I get asked something like that, I'm just like, I try to value my work, but this time I was like, you seriously gonna buy all 3 at once? Oh my days, yes, of course you're gonna get discount, of course. Like, that's something I never expect anyone to do. It's a lot. So now I've set it up on Ravelry that if you put all 3 in your cart at once and buy them at once, you will get, I think, a 20% discount, which will save you about £10, which is quite a lot. So that is only for people who buy them all 3 at once, not after the fact or anything like that. I don't expect anyone to do that. I just thought I'd put it out there in case anyone want to. But let me make it super clear that you do not have to buy any previous clubs to be up to speed with this one. I will always make my clubs without any expectations that you've done them before. So we always start from the beginning. I try to make them worthwhile for people who have done it before, but I'm always primarily catering to people who are new. So don't feel like there's an expectation that, oh, I didn't do the previous 2 clubs, so I feel like I'm behind and I can't do club 3. No. I think it's I was going to say incredible, amazing, that was the word, that people want to get all 3. So for those of you who are that generous, it's the least I can do to offer a discount on that. So you don't need a code, you just put in the card. Anyway, I feel awkward now. Let's wrap up the Mitten Club talk for this time around. If you've got any questions, you can put them in my comments below or in the Ravelry group. There's a thread for the Mitten Club. So yeah. Thank you all so much for your support. Oh my days. Oh my days. I haven't actually talked about my other knit alongs yet. I usually do that in the beginning. We're going to do it now. Anyway, Kuusikofta where we're going to make the Kuusikofta pattern, which you have to be done by the end of the year. And I'm really pleased that I put off the deadline until the end of the year. It was going to be the end of the summer, but people wanted more time. They didn't work on it across the summer, much like myself last year. So I am so glad I put off the deadline, because now so many things are happening in that thread. I'm seeing so many cardigans that are about to be finished that you come really far on, and oh, I just love it. I just love that there are so many other people out there who just want a massive like color work coat again. I'm like, I'm not the only mad person. That didn't help with yeah. I'm kind of excited that it's quite cold now, because I get to wear the coat again soon. I don't know why I call it a coat again. It's a kofta. It's just a very big one. The way I was thinking when I made it, and when I made it so big, is that I wanted to be a kind of one size fits all. I say that, it's got like 15 sizes, 16 sizes in it. But I want it to be the kind of cardigan that you have hanging in your family cabin or summer house or whatever you have. If you don't have anything, that's fine too. So that like any family member, anyone visiting will be able to wear it. And for the majority it might be too big, but it's like, that was kind of my thinking. But I have included so many sizes that you don't have to go like massively oversized, but that was kind of the, yeah, it's not a tailored cardigan, let's just put it that way. It's a big one, and it's just, oh, it's my go-to when I want to stay warm. So as I alluded to earlier, I think that I don't know what happened to my projects this week. I have knitted on so many things, and I'm now looking for stuff to show you, and I'm like, what are my projects? What was I working on? I don't know. So yeah, But yesterday I picked up Icelander. Was it the day before? I don't know. Icelander was a design I started on this spring, and then for various reasons, the pattern being a bit complicated, test knitters being amazing and letting me know kind of where I was at, and oh, I love them, and the fact that summer came around and it just, sweater patterns don't really sell that well, and I'm not sure how available I am for pattern support, but I'll give it my best, because the PhD obviously is, yeah, I do take it quite seriously, both pattern support and the PhD. And yeah, so then there was Sleeve Island, and that's kind of what happened. So I looked at some of the test knitting feedback, and some mentioned, like, very carefully and just kind of by the way, sleeves were a bit tight, and it was mostly just like the smaller size that said so. So I'm like, I looked at it and I'm like, well, of course the sleeve will drop a bit further up for smaller sizes and larger sizes will drop further down. So yeah, they will be tighter for smaller sizes. That makes sense. I need to fix that. So I have fixed it. This is Icelander, and I had done a sleeve, if you remember, and if I was going to fix it, I would basically have to knit for just plain in the round without decreasing for longer before starting the decreasing. Well, I was nearly done with the sleeves, so I just kept on knitting and finished the sleeve. And then I took it off the sweater. So I basically just ripped out the pickup round. I just pulled out the yarn, and it didn't even harm the steek. Like, that's the kind of thing I would have been worried that maybe that would pull out the strands for the steek, but it didn't at all. It didn't even move it. So steek is safe, no worries. Like, it really does hold up the crochet stabilizer, but mostly the yarn. So sticky yarns, and this is a soft sticky yarn. This is Vilja by Hillesvåg. Yeah, so the sleeve is now unattached, and as you can see, a bit short. So what I'm doing, this is not going to be what the pattern will be like. Picked up again, and now I am knitting about, I think, 7 centimeters. So once I've done that, I'm going to graft on, and we're going to have the right sleeve length. I'm going to write it properly in the pattern. I have written it properly in the pattern, but I really just want this to be the best fit possible and be comfortable, if anything, more than anything. These were just like dangling on the floor, like they're, like, yarn isn't even coming out, it's just kind of hanging there, like, oh, Christmas decorations. So yeah, I am basically working up this now. It's not going to take very long, I don't think, and then it's just the other sleeve, and then all I need is to photograph it, and that's it. Shouldn't be that hard. Another thing I have done, which was about time, the neckline. There we have it. I love this. It's just like proper Icelander. This is the Icelander look. It's as soon as you get that striped rib on, same for the bottom here, I was just like, oh yeah, this is an Icelander. This, don't ask me why it's called that. I don't know why it's called that. It's just because of people that see it, and it's like, it's all Iceland to Norwegians, you know, anything out in the sea. So yeah, I did a kind of neat bind off when I tacked down the neckline. You don't have to do it that way, but I quite like it. It just looks kind of proper. And yeah, so you will remember, we're actually steeked the front of the neckline. Where's the steek? I don't know. Do you see a steek? Is it? Oh, it's in here. I've hidden it inside the fold. Can't see the steek now. It's gone. Feels so clever. So yeah, that's where Icelander's at. Just gonna seam on that sleeve I've done and do the other sleeve now that I know how it's done. I'm not gonna be putting it off that much. So, because I've had lots of questions. When is this gonna come out? When is it coming out? Soon. This year, okay? This year, that's a promise. Every time I make a promise, it's like when things go bad. But yeah. Ow! Just poked. I was gonna hug and rude. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm working on. Really trying to push myself to finish it. I'm really enjoying it. The chart is so memorizable. It's not one of those things that I put off because, oh, I gotta get the chart and look at it and pay attention. It's like, I can bring this around anywhere and knit with anyone. yeah, so that's kind of where that is at. I'm just gonna keep this on my desk so I won't forget. Yeah. And as I'm sure regular viewers are asking, what is the cheeky cost of the week? Because I seem to be costing on something every week, don't I? And I mean, you're not wrong, because when I travelled back from Yarndale, which we'll get to, I had this urge to cost on something that had nothing to do with what I had bought. I was listening to a podcast, as I was on the train back to London, which went really smoothly this time, by the way, as opposed to 2 years ago. Oh my days. Marte, which is one of, yeah, probably the favorite audio knitting podcast of mine from Norway, put up an episode where they had interviewed Renate Yerkis, I think it's pronounced, her new design Granskog tea in the magazine for Oslo Strikkefestival, the knitting festival in Oslo. And I have looked at it and I was like, oh, there's a raglan, it's a bit of an open neckline. I was like, oh, I don't know. But I have a bit of raglan skepticism because it seems to be a lot of the sort of go-to construction because it's so simple, and so I don't trust it. But then I listened to this podcast episode where Renate was interviewed, and I just like, she has an eye to detail, like she knows what she's doing. Like I really, from listening to her, just like trusted her design and construction decisions, and like it became apparent to me like she'd been very thoughtful about everything. So my kind of anxiety around raglans faded, and I was like, I'm gonna cast this baby on. So I knew what yarn I wanted to use. I don't know how that came into my mind. I get asked that a lot, like, how do you choose yarn? I'm like, I don't know. It popped into my mind. I have this yarn in stash and I think it will be perfect. I know the gauge of this one is a little bit on the tighter side. I think it's a 28 stitch gauge, which I don't know why. Like anything beyond 24 I'm like, which is weird because I used to do that a lot in my beginning knitting days. And 24 is like my favorite gauge, which I consider quite quick. So I don't know why 26 is like, but yeah. But I did it. So, whoa, yarn. Some of you may remember from 2 years ago, I was on like a bottle green high. That was what I bought everywhere I went, and I went a lot of places. One of the bottle green sweater quantities I got was Huldra. This is from Hillesvåg. It's their worsted spun, which means it's quite smooth and combed, quite fine yarn. It's actually called worsted spun thick because they have an even finer version called Alv, but Huldra is their thicker version, which is a light fingering way. As you can see, the yarn is quite fine, but it's a non-superwash, so there's still a bit of plumpness. I would actually liken this to, like, you know, your sort of sock yarn thinness, but obviously not superwash treated. Now, I got quite excited when I first discovered Huldra because it's really soft and fine and just elegant and perfect for like a vintage blouse or something. It turns out this is one of the yarns at Hillesvåg that is, unless I'm wrong, not Norwegian. So it's quite possibly even produced elsewhere, but certainly the fibers from elsewhere. And I don't think Hillesvåg have worsted spun equipment, but I could be wrong. Oh, it's been a while since I was there. I was Bergen Knitting Festival the past weekend. I've been every year the past 2 years. That's twice. And gone to the mill. This time I did not, but I did get this yarn when I was there 2 years ago, and it's lovely. When I kicked this up, I realized just how much it reminds me of sort of fine worsted spun yarns like Jumper Weight Supreme, I think, by Jameson Smith. It quite reminds me of Fenella by Susan Crawford, by Knit Picks Palette, by Cascade 220 Fingering. That kind of yarn that's just very fine and smooth. Yeah, definitely would do like a vintage blouse, like a Susan Crawford type thing with this. Can't show you. Anyway, close up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Focus. Yeah, there we are. I feel like a lot of podcasters have gotten the hang of their focus lately. Do you remember like 2 years ago, you spent half your podcast watching time just watching people try to get focus? Those were the days, right? Anyway, I like the yarn. It's not super washed, but it's quite smooth and soft, next to skin friendly if you ask me. And I have cast it on and it looks like a Christmas tree, which is funny because the motif is a pine tree and I'm using a sort of pine tree colour. And I've got all this like golden stuff dangling on it because I thought I'd put a stitch marker in for every repeat. I will probably take those out eventually and just keep the markers in for the sides, but for now, quite like them. You know, it's kind of jolly. The sad thing is that this is a day's work of knitting and it's just mainly just the rib. Like, I can be a bit slow with rib, well not that slow, but apparently with 300 or so stitches, it does take me a while. 300 stitches on the 3.5 needle. So, getting there. I'm just gonna power through the trees. There's this tree motif. I'm gonna show you the pattern. Once I do that, it's just stockinette, and then it's a raglan. So, as opposed to Tenya, where when I got up past the stockinette, finally, I put it away because I had to work flat because it's a drop shoulder sleeve. And I did it on the machine in the end. This time it's a raglan, so I get to do it in the round and I don't have to postpone. And I think once I get to that point, I'm going to see how much yarn I have left to do sleeves. Because if I have more, I may do longer sleeves. We'll see. So this is the Oslo Strikkefestival magazine that I bought at the festival. I showed you in my kind of haul. And this is the pattern. Meow. I feel like this deserves like a massive hype on the grams. It's been really big in Norway. There was a knit along for it and there might still be actually. Anyway, these photos as well are amazing. Look at that. I can't see anything, but I'm assuming you can. Yeah. So you can see the different color options. I was really tempted to go with a blue and I do have a blue Huldra sweater quantity as well. But you know what? Trees are green. Fact. In Norway they are green, okay? So I'm gonna go with that. It's a pine tree sweater. I'm gonna do pine tree coloured, sticking to it, and use the blue for something else. So obviously I don't have much to say about this right now. There's one thing in the pattern. There's one like one of those eye to detail things that she does, Renata, and that is the yarn overs are mirrored, but in my head they should end up looking the same anyway, because you do one yarn over front to back and one back to front, but you knit one of them through back loop and one through the front loop, and in my head that should end up being the same. So anyone have any input on that? Maybe it's like just the yarn tensioning thing that it would just look more symmetrical, but I feel like that's the kind of thing that would block out, because it is the same alignment and everything, and just, I still like it. I think it's great with that kind of eye to detail, even if it's just a matter of like getting things to lean the right way or whatever, even if it's the same. Yeah, just curious because it will require a bit more concentration. But regardless, it's a thing that's happening. Will I finish it? Oh, that's not the point of this podcast. Now, I do have another project to show you guys. Some of you will remember that I've really wanted to try the yoke of Blank Canvas by Isolde Teague, because I was really curious to see if there are different like raglan shapings out there that are a little bit more tailored, because I kind of don't like how a raglan just increases at a very even rate, and how often that ends up being a disservice to very small and very large sizes. Small sizes end up with a very short yoke that's kind of uncomfortable, and large sizes with a very deep yoke that's kind of like difficult to maneuver. So I ended up with Blank Canvas, and I did the yoke just because this is a bottom up sweater and I just wanted to try the yoke, so I just did that with a provisional cast on. So this will be picked up and knitted down, and I'm not even sure I'm going to do any shaping or anything. I'm just kind of like use up the yarn. So if that's my strategy, I need to do the sleeves first to know how much yarn there's left. The sleeves are heavy. I've done them. They are quite wide because I kept using the decrease rate that the increase rate in the pattern was, which is just made for a kind of half sleeve, 3/4 sleeve, something around that, like elbow length. So they aren't very tight around the lower arms, but I quite like that. But they are so heavy, these sleeves. I don't know if you can like tell, like this is heavy. I don't know how the sleeves are like heavier than the yoke, but they just feel so dense. I'm hoping this will get a bit better with blocking. But yes, you can see the shaping of them almost look a bit uniform because there aren't that many stitches fewer, and I could comfortably use my 16-inch 40cm needle through and through. And yes, I've been good in alternating skeins. I feel like this looks a bit more orange than the Yoke, because I introduced a new skein there. But it's so heavy, and I'm gonna end up using all 7 skeins. It's gonna be like a 700-gram sweater. So this is part of the many reasons I prefer a non-superwash, because they are so light. This is a beast. It's so heavy. I don't know how this is possible. I kept thinking I was knitting it too. It's just really, really heavy. I don't work with superwash much, so when I kind of do, I'm just like, it's different. Aha! So this is Madeleine Tush. I thought I ordered a DK twist, but apparently it's DK high twist. So it's very heavy. So the yarn is heavy. It's knit at a fairly heavy dense gauge. It's like a 22 stitch gauge, which is a little bit on the sport weight side, but it's still a DK. But it's quite thick and high twist. So yeah, it's gonna be a heavy sweater, but you know, comfortable one. I mean, look at this color. I don't have anything this color. I have a project on this. I have 2 actually, but one is not for me. I think I can rock it. According to Dagny, you know, whose book we talked about last time, the Pickles book, I can wear this. So we're going with it. So I've done the beginning of the other sleeve. It's really mindless. I've gone through a lot of Netflix with these sleeves as well. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's not a project that is super urgent or anything, which is probably why I worked on it more than anything else, because that's how it works, right? So I quite like. I can actually try it on now. No, because I'm wearing a thick jumper underneath. This is actually Do Cut by Kate Davies. That main reason I put it on is because I alternate between 2 jumpers when I'm at home. It's this one and the improv sweater, and I wore the improv sweater last time, so I was like holding it and like, well, if you're gonna record now, Ali, could you just vary it a bit? And so I looked around, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this one, which I used Hobium Just Wool, which is a recycled DK weight yarn that I love. It is dirt cheap, order from Turkey. They gave it to me for free, like a lot of it, and it's so soft. The recycled yarn is like cotton. It doesn't matter that it's non-superwash, which I do think this is non-superwash. It's so soft, very next to skin friendly. I could have 100 sweaters in this. It's a bit hard to knit with. There's not much elasticity in it, so heads up about that. But yeah, quite nice fabric. Does tend to attract a bit of dust and knobs, but it hasn't done that now. It's not much hair on it, so that's kind of how it looks. A little bit tweedy as well. Yeah, I just really love this jumper. I need more stuff like this. It's also quite a nice crop length, because I am me and the Do Cut is cropped. I like this length. It works really well with skirts. It's nice and loose. Yeah, in case someone is going to ask, even though they're always on my Ravelry projects. Anyway, yeah. So just increasing my wardrobe of basic sweaters. Not that this is basic by no means, because I do really like the raglan shaping here. You can see the curve. It's a good curve. You get this little shoulder, like a little, it sits on the shoulder before it starts to increase a lot. Well, it increases a lot here, you know what I mean, before it increases for the sleeves. So it's like a saddle shoulder contiguous kind of feature on a raglan, and I really do like that. So that's what's happening with blank canvas. It's not something I'm like pushing through right now, but you know, it's just a nice piece of stockinette to have around. You gotta have a few of those. I'm trying to get through this stash, and this was not a cheap yarn. Like, I am not one for normally knitting lots of sweaters in yarn like Madeleine Tush, and especially because it's an import from the States, which was not cheap. It's a bit of a treat. Like, I get to try out something I don't normally do, and yeah, I just enjoying the exploration and kind of treating myself, like I said. We talked a lot about this last week, about kind of purchasing pressure and acquisitions and stuff. I really appreciate your feedback. I'm gonna see if I have a bit of time at the end of the episode where I can reflect a bit more on that. I got nothing planned, so that could go either way. But yeah, it's a bit new to me, this kind of fancy schmancy hand-dyed sweater. Like, it's not just like an accessory, it's like a full-on. Gotta try everything, I guess, you know. And that is what I have for you guys in terms of knitting projects this week. I am gonna leave the links to all the stuff I covered last time, you know, the different books and Susan Crawford's retreat that I'm gonna be on, all that stuff. It will be still linked below, but I'm not gonna talk about it again because we did it last time. And if you're curious, you can go to the last week's episode. So we're gonna talk about Yarndale. Can we just have a moment to appreciate the light right now? This is the kind of light I'm talking about. It's like proper clouded, awful weather. I am so happy. So, Yarndale, buckle up. I could not go to Yarndale last year because they've started to have it in the same weekend as Bergen Knitting Festival. And that was the case this year as well, but this year I couldn't go to Bergen, so I went to Yarndale. I'm hoping to go to Bergen next year. I'm hoping they won't be at the same time because I really like Yarndale. I enjoyed it a lot 2 years ago. And this time, it was busy. It was really busy. Like, I would have needed to stay there for 2 days, actually. I didn't even feel like I got to see most of the stuff in the one day I was there. I did see everything once. I didn't see it very up close in detail. Like, I arrived about 11, I think. So I guess I missed out on 1 hour, but like, that's not a lot. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff there. I feel like they just crammed in a lot more in the same space. And yeah, it was busy. Lots and lots of people coming up to Little Skipton, and which is in North Yorkshire in the UK. It's a fairly quick train ride from London. It's 3 hours on the train, which for me is just knitting time. Like, I'm not too fussed about that. I really enjoy it. I love traveling by train. If I could travel anywhere with train, I do, and I don't care how long it will take. Almost, kind of. Yeah, it's just a shame that they don't put rail lines across the sea that much. Like, I would go to Norway so much if there were like train lines in tunnels or something, like to Oslo and Bergen and Trondheim. That would be so cool. Anyway, so the ride was cool. I arrived in Skipton. I met up with the amazing, lovely Nessa of the Kiltercraft podcast, which I haven't seen in 2 years. We need to make this more frequent. So we hung out most of the time, and there's another project I didn't mention, because we were actually going to try to photograph my new cardigan pattern. Yeah, I'm gonna show you the photo and why that's not gonna happen. Oh, we tried. It's just like, no matter where we placed ourselves, with or without the beautiful Yorkshire backdrop, it was too dark. You couldn't see the cardigan. So I'm gonna show you here right now. Right, upcoming pattern alert. Put on the buttons. I don't think I showed you when I put on the buttons last time, because I feel like I've done that since. So here's the cardigan with the buttons on. I should be wearing it really, but it sits so well on me. It doesn't even have shaping, and it still looks like it does when I wear it. It's really quite amazing. And I've worn this the whole of Yarndale, and it still hasn't knopped or anything, which I am surprised, because it is quite a loose gauge, which do tend to increase the chances of knops and pills and what have you. I love the buttons. I got so many compliments for these buttons at Yarndale. Got them in Oslo when I was there last time. So yeah, this pattern is gonna come, I promise. I just need to get good photos of it. That's mainly what it comes down to. If you want to prepare, I can let you know about yarn amounts and such. I think you'll be fine. Like, anyone whose size is like 105 centimeter bust and below can get away with 4 to 5 skeins of fenol. I have calculated across sizes, so yeah. It's a thing that is happening. Whoop whoop. So Yarndale, I took the bus that takes you from the train station, and it drops you off kind of at the backside where they load the whole show. And the first booth there is the same as last time I was there, Laxtons Limited. Laxtons yarn. So I had to buy stuff, even though I was like standing there, you know, talking to them. I was like, haven't really knitted up most of what I got here 2 years ago, and I got most of the yarn because it's so incredibly lovely and affordable and just beautiful natural colors. But I found something I didn't already have, and that is their BFL Gotland, because they do have BFL Massham, and I have that in every weight. Arbon DK and fingering, you bet. So I got 5 skeins of their BFL Gotland, which is so lovely. It looks a lot like the BFL Massham, but yeah, Gotland. I love it so much. You can see there's a bit of information at the side here. That's pretty much like the yarn label. It says Laxtons 5 times 100 gram hangs new BFL Gotland, so it's a new base of theirs. 75% BFL, 25% Gotland, 230 meters per 100 grams approximately. So yeah, this is basically a yarn company that makes yarn for dyers to dye on. So mostly it's just available as wholesale yarn for hand dyers, yarn dyers. So usually it's not easy for me to get a hold of, and it's meant to be dyed. So like you can get it from Knitting Goddess, for instance. She dyes on it. I know my friend Amy Florence of the Stranded Dye Works and podcast has it sometimes. The BFL Massham, not the BFL Gotland. So it does make the rounds. I have seen a lot of dyers use it. Countess of Blaze has it too. And it's, I quite like to know like different dyers having the base, because then I can mix and match. It's so nice. I have done one sweater in it. It's just one that doesn't fit me very well, so I look forward to knit more with it. And I was making my Hansel hat in their DK BFL Massham. Yeah, you know, the hat that I've nearly finished and then put away for 2 years. That hat. It will happen one day. One day. Look at that. Oh, it's so soft. It's so soft. It says DK. It does look very fine to me, but it might just be because it's such a long staple. So that, yeah, it may plump up when it's not skeined together. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it's like, it's that sound. It's that beautiful rain sound. Yeah. So I quite like this color. I don't feel like I need this dyed. I don't know what I'm going to make with it, but yeah, I seem to have channeled a bit of that vibe I had when I went to Yarndale 2 years ago, because like I nearly only bought grey yarn. I just came home with so much grey, so that's kind of happened this time around. I just opened the window. I want you guys to hear the rain as well. I don't know if you can, but it's such a beautiful sound. I don't know what it is. My second stop at Yarndale, I don't remember what the booth was called. I'm very sorry. They had a various selection of yarns and magazines and stuff, so I imagine this was a brick and mortar store, online yarn shop that just does various things. So sorry I don't remember. So I got West Yorkshire Spinner sock yarn. This is their first sock yarn they ever did, and I've had such a hard time getting hold of it. I think it's called Hollyberry, could be wrong. So it's the first Christmas yarn they did, because I have the second and the third. I've done socks of those, and this is this year's Christmas yarn, which is actually quite similar. I wonder if they knit up differently. This is called Christmas something, I don't remember. So yeah, Christmas socks are happening, and I might just cast them on for Amy's festive sock along that she's doing. So I might do this one and see if I have time for this one. I did actually go to Pearlescence, which is like my go-to Chiagu shop, because I feel like they sell them quite affordably. I'm happy to support them, and whenever they're at a show I can buy them in person and save on shipping. So I did get some sock needles of theirs to cast them on the train. But me and Nessa, we went out and had a pub dinner after Yarningham, and I dropped my bag on the floor, and then I put up all the stuff that I dropped on the floor in the bag and left, except the needles. I didn't get to cast on the socks on the train, but I like phoned the pub and they're like, yeah, we found the needles and someone's gonna go pick them up, and I'm like, what? No, I will ask a friend to go pick them up. They're like, yeah, we know. I'm like, I don't understand, but I guess I'm getting a friend to pick them up if I have a friend in Yarndale. So I asked around, found there's a lot of friends of mine who were already leaving, so they didn't have time to pick them up, and I actually had an agreement with a friend, but then Someone posted in my Ravelry group that they found the needles. They knew they were mine. I don't know how. Perks of being famous on the internet, I guess. Hashtag. They said they'd given it to someone who I know who will give them to me, and I'm like, oh, who is this? And then I know who it is now. She's gonna send them to me, and thank you so much. So small world, tight-knit community. Wow. So the needles will come and find their way to me, as though I am lacking in 2.5 centimeter Chargu needles. As if. Then I got another skein of dye Gilpin yarn. Why just one? Well, you may remember I bought this yarn at Edinburgh. I got a sweater quantity, and I think I got like 4 or 5 skeins. I don't even know where I put them. Probably in the project bag, because I cast no sweater in this yarn as I was there, and then I forgot about it. It's one of those, I just need a stockinette project, like I always do, and then they become UFOs. So I was just a bit worried that I didn't have enough yarn, so I just bought another one. If I don't need it, it can be something else. I've done a pair of mittens in this yarn before. They actually can knit up to as much as a DK weight, because they're so loosely plied that it can be quite plump. So that works. But yeah, they're always super lovely in the dye Gilpin booth. Always a place to buy yarn from them, and you should really check out this yarn if you ever have the opportunity. It is so ridiculously soft. This feels like it would be some kind of cotton or something. Not that cotton is like the pinnacle of soft yarn, but it just, you don't get a wool sense from this at all, because it's a beautifully soft lamb's wool. So just to give you the label, it's very different from any other yarn. Yes, there's a non-support lamb's wool, but it feels worlds apart from most of the ones I know of. I can't imagine a person on the planet that would find this itchy. It's just lovely, and they have beautiful samples, and I'm just kind of like, dye Gilpin, ooh. So looking forward to have a very sort of basic yoke stockinette sweater in this yarn whenever I pick up that project again. Who knows? I mean, I don't even know where I put it, so yeah. And then I picked up this beautiful yarn from the lovely people at Midwinter Yarns, which I always just want to buy everything they stock. Honestly, if you don't know about Midwinter Yarns, they are an online yarn shop in the UK, up in Scotland now. They used to be elsewhere, now they're up there. They do show up in most yarn shows, and have always been super supportive of me. Always loved shopping yarn at theirs. They have a lot of Scandinavian yarn, not as much from Norway, but I'm working on that. And they have Nordic yarn in general, and I got this yarn from theirs, which is Finnish. And I'm like, the name of this yarn is just like offensive. Like, how do you, like, just Finnish is just like bad on the environment for using just too many letters. This is me dealing with the fact that I can't pronounce things. I'm sorry if there's anyone watching who's Finnish. You have a lovely, albeit quirky language. So yeah, I love this, and I'm not gonna pronounce it. It's just, you're gonna hold it up so you can make notes, so find it down below. The color. This is actually dyed with the same natural material that they used for the gull yarn that I got from Oslo, which is quite probably why the color is so similar, which is the very dark plum burgundy, which I do love, and it's nearly the same color. It's exactly the same color as my sweater. In my defense, I didn't buy this yarn. It's just, I know what I like, and I guess other people do too. So it's got 360 meters, so I'm guessing this is kind of a fingering weight yarn. It's 100 gram skein each, and I think I'm gonna do a shawl design. I just haven't decided on anything yet. I'm gonna have to wait for the idea to just like make its announcement that it's here. So far that's not happened, but you know, I'll just brace myself. So there's that. It's a 100% Finnish wool. It feels, whoa, absolutely lovely. Next to skin friendly. Very happy to do a shawl in this. Oh yeah. So it's just beautiful. I wanted a sweater quantity of this, but then I was like, literally just bought a sweater quantity in this color from Girl. Stop right now. So yeah, shawl, matchy shawl to the sweater that I may make one day. That's the plan anyway. What else? Ooh. Oh, this yarn I'm very excited to tell you about. So I don't know if you know, Crafternoon Trees, I think she events at Yarndale pretty much regularly, and I already noticed that she was dyeing on non-superwash yarns like 2 years ago, and back then there wasn't that many people doing it. And she has a great focus on sustainability, environmentally friendly stuff, like way beyond my concerns, and I'm just like, you even thought about that? So she kind of has that kind of as the core of her business and what she does. So there will be a lot of non-superwash bases, and there was this one yarn that she had there that I was just, this is nice, and it was in lovely colors, lots of different colors, and it was a mix of Corriedale and Polworth, so you know I'm already gonna love that, in DK weight yarn in 100-gram skeins. I'm gonna link to the entry she has for them on Etsy because I didn't find any information about them anywhere else, and I'm gonna show you. I got 5 of these, and it was really great how she listed the prices, because she would literally write out how much for 1 skein, 2 skeins, 3 skeins, 5 skeins, and so on. I don't know if it was to help us not do the math, so if there were like, you save money the more you buy kind of thing, I would imagine that. So I got 5 because I hope that will be enough for a sweater. So I'm just gonna show you the whole lot. Yeah, it is so soft. This is so nice. It's non-superwash, Corriedale Polworth. I would say it was quite affordable. Obviously this is different for different people. Some people would be like, sweater quantity for like, I don't know, £50 give or take is a lot. Like, it's a lot. I wouldn't be able to afford that a couple of years back, but for some people that's amazing. Like, it was dyed in the wool, so you don't have to alternate skeins. Of course I got grey instead of any other like exciting colours, but I do like grey, and I could imagine what I would do with it. I had this like gently cabled sweater in mind, and I don't even know what I was thinking, because you will notice there's a skein lacking here. I said I got 5. I got a design idea. This happens. I buy the yarn and I'm like, I want to design something in this. I know exactly what it's going to look like, and it's going to be a very basic kind of wardrobe staple sweater. So there is another project happening here. It's not very exciting right now. It's literally just like the back of the sweater with short rows. It's just stocking out. Nothing to write home about. I'm knitting it quite loosely. It's quite a thin fabric because it's gonna be a little bit big. I mean, it's gonna be 500 skeins. That's a 500-gram sweater. Like, I don't know why that's the reason, but I wanted to do it at this gauge. Just what we're gonna do. Hoping to make just a nice cozy wardrobe staple. More on that later. I think right now I'm working on so many sweaters, none of which you guys have access to right now, so it's kind of just starting to sound a bit naff that I'm just like, here's the design and here's the design, and by the way, it's just for me to enjoy, you to watch. Like, I need to just focus on the stuff that can come out soon, before you guys just get impatient with me like Icelander. Oh. So yeah, but in time. So about the maybe last 1 hour or so before the show was over, it actually got quite calm and we could wander around with a bit more ease, and we went back to some booths to say hi again. There were about 15 minutes left before we went over to John Arbon again and had a chat there, and people were just kind of hanging out. Like, Rachel from Dr. for Shepherd was there, and Katie Green from her amazing booth of all the amazing things, which we'll get to. And I remembered that I've been wanting Devonia DK for Carol Feller's Bohus sweater in that issue of Lane from months back that I was just enamored with. Like, I just want everything in that magazine, that particular issue. There's the Kiyumi Bergen sweater that I made, but Sylvia of Wood Chairs on Top 2 on Instagram is helping me sew in the sleeves because I don't want to do it, and she said she liked it. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, sorry I had to do one sleeve twice. Should have explained that better, but I had not breakfast yet. So I done that. There are, I feel like I've done another one or looked at it. I don't remember. There's a lot. Yes, the color shawl. And I want to do the boho sweater. So I had already chosen the colors I wanted to use when I was at Knit with Attitude months ago, and then I decided, one, they didn't have enough of the skeins I needed, and two, it's gonna cost a bit much. Arbon is really affordable. It's just like the sheer number of skeins I'm gonna need because it's got a few colors in there. But this time I felt like I hadn't bought that much. I may have forgotten that I put a few things in my rucksack rather than in the bags I had on my arms, so I just kind of, you know what, 15 minutes left. I have the yarn in front of me, and I am a mill member, which means I get discounts on stuff. Though I think they went very generous on that discount. I did make it very clear that this was for someone else's design and not me, but they still, yeah. So I bought quite a bit. Kind of feeling this must be an error in the pattern, but it does say you need 5 skeins of the main color. I have a feeling I'll have quite a bit of leftovers. Don't be rude about the colors. They're not the same. Okay, I'm gonna show you one. I feel like 5 is a bit much, but yeah, the color is gorgeous. It's not black, it's purple. Look at that. Look at that. Hallelujah. Can you even? Devonia DK, guys. Is that even upside down? It is upside down. Ha 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 ha. It's a lot of the letters that look the same either way here. I was like, yeah. Devonia DK is just like, it's one of those skeins like when you first grab it, you're kind of like, oh, a bit prickly, and then you hold it. Like, it's so soft. How is it? How does it do that? You like go, it's a bit. Oh, it is nice. It's like a bit like it tricks you to think that it's gonna be a bitey one, and then it's just really lovely. So 50% Exmoor Blueface, 30% Blueface Leicester, and 20% Wensleydale. I think it's the Wensleydale that gets me a bit, because Wensleydale is like woolly but very slick and shiny, but a bit bitey. Don't know why I'm talking like this. Sorry. So yeah, I'm gonna have a sweater in this. Yeah. So it does have 233 meters per 100 grams. Recommended gauge 20 to 22 stitches per 4 inches. From Devon. So I'm sure you want to see the contrast colors I chose because it's a colorwork sweater after all. With steeks. Lane put steeks in the magazine. Steeks to the people. So these are the colors. I know they're a bit outside my comfort zone, like orange. When do I do orange? Maybe I'm like channeling a bit of Gigi energy here. By the way, if you don't know, Gigi has a podcast on YouTube. Gigi made it. It's so lovely. I've been binging it all weekend. Gigi is just a fantastic person all around, so you should totally check it out if you haven't already. I feel like I mentioned it before, in case I haven't. So yeah, these are my contrast colors. They're just going to be across the chest. Well, this is the main color, basically like the sweater. Yeah. It's different for me. It may not be on the Dogny color palette for blue eyes and blue skin. Cool skin, not blue skin. Though sometimes. I still yeah, I'm going there. That's yeah, it's happening. So I'm just excited to try a different color combination. I think will be flattering still. It's outside of my comfort zone. The color palette generally for Devonia is outside my comfort zone, so I just couldn't go with the usual, and I had to make sure all the colors would pop in different ways. So some of them were just bound to be outside my comfort zone, and this is where I landed. So yeah, skeins on the floor. So yeah, someday this will become Bohus by Carol Feller. I'm not seeing myself cast it on anytime soon, but at least I got the yarn so I can, you know, sleep at night. So normally at yarn shows you just end up with a lot of bits and bobs of things and stuff, like, you know, the wristbands and stuff like that, and obviously the Yarndale booklet. There's actually information about the Corriedale Polwarth yarn by Crafting & Treats, so I can put them up here in case you're interested. I I got this beautiful stitch marker from someone I met at Yarndale. So I thought I'd give you a close-up of that. By the way, I forgot to mention in the last episode, I am so sorry. This came as a complete surprise. First of all, thank you so much for the stitch marker. I need to wrap up one thing before I start the other thing. Thank you so much. I've never had a beaded stitch marker before either. That's exciting. Someone sent me dark crystal stuff. It came as a complete surprise. It's someone I'd done destashing with before. Sent me like a poster and some stickers and stuff. I haven't found room for the poster yet. But thank you. That was a surprise. So I just thought I'd put that out there. Thanks. I nearly forgot to mention the other thing I got there. I just remember because I picked up Ida's house, which I believe was where I bought this. It's actually illustrated by Katie Green. I got a mug. Ignore the knitting needle, okay? I got a container somewhere. That might be the purpose of this mug. Because I don't have room for mugs, but how could I not buy this? Will you look at that mug? Seriously. I could not get this mug. So I think it's going to be my needle holder for when I can't bother to organize them. Because the way I do it now is like I have a really good organization thing. But I keep them just hanging on the knob of my bedside drawers. So I think instead what we're going to do, yeah, the mug needs a purpose. This is how we're working on it. Yeah, anyway, you may want to know who made the mug. This came with the mug, so I'm going to assume that is the mug maker. Yeah, information about that. I love it. It's amazing. I don't have room for any mugs, but I keep buying them because, like, if I find a knitting themed mug, it's like I'm only human, and one day I will have a cupboard for mugs that will be all mine. One day. I got West Yorkshire Spinners pattern for the latest socks, so yeah, it actually comes with a pattern. I'm obviously not going to show you because it's in here, but that was really nice that they are kind of sending out this with the socks, with the yarn. I got a lot of shade cards from John Arbon. Now some of these I already have shade cards of, but they have introduced new colors since. I am so pleased to have this updated. Thank you so much. You guys were so lovely. Yeah, so you may want to see it. This is Harvest Hues. It had a lot fewer colors back when I got my shade cards, so yeah. And this is Viola. I don't think I have a Viola shade card. I do have some Viola yarn. That's what I'm making my color shawl out of. And Knit by Numbers, which is their whole gradient yarn. So that's gonna go in my shade card collection, because yes, I do have a shade card collection. And lastly, of course, I bought stuff at Katie Green's booth. She's amazing, and I do have a lot of stuff from hers. Previously, I've got her autobiographical graphic novel. I have her zine, and I have a poster, that one up in the corner with the sheep breeds. This is British sheep breed, so of course I had to get a little sock bag with sheep breeds. This was where I was going to knit my West Yorkshire Spinner sock yarn with the needle that is now lost, but on its way back to its mama. In here is, well, another needle I bought from Prelessons, because Prelessons, they best Chagu source in the UK if you ask me. I got this. This is More Than Yarn, Some Drawings About Knitting by Katie Green. And Katie Green's drawing style is just so cute. So, yeah. I think I will keep the inside to myself, because obviously that's the point of this being available for purchase. But I'm gonna read you the bit at the back. This zine collects my comics and illustrations on the theme of knitting. Most were originally published in my favorite magazine, Pom Pom Quarterly, between 2014 and 2016. I'm delighted to collect them all together in one place for the first time, along with a few extras. I hope you enjoy them. I haven't looked through it yet, but I'm going to have a nice little read through when I have a quiet moment, you know, if that ever happens. So yeah, that is my Yarndale pile. Can I just point out that all of it fit in one handbag? okay with that. I am feeling that some yarn needs to go out soon. It's just very little of my stash that I want to part with, but I really am thinking of a de-stash. But if I do, I will be announcing that on Instagram. So I'm gonna wrap that up now. I don't have much to talk about in terms of Netflix and knit, as I came to call it. I feel like someone came up with that before me, so sorry if it's someone else's. I hope you enjoyed the Spotify playlist that I shared last week. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye!